Who is ready for a first start on our 10 billion hour, 4 billion episode Evo 8 project? I know I certainly am. So let's start knocking things off the list of what needs to get done, starting with transmission gear oil. We are going to be running the Redline Cocktail. This is good for any sort of 5-speed in your DSM or Evo. So it is it is 2 Redline MT90 and 1 Redline MTL. Now the easiest way to fill up your transmission, gotta be careful to what you say nowadays, boys. You pull out this sensor right here, should be a 24 mil. All right. Like so. You take your first quart and you dump it in. We're gonna dump all 3 quarts in this car. And just like the T-case, just like the rear diff, when this thing is ready, I'm going to put it in gear. I'm gonna allow everything to engage, get all the oil spinning where it needs to go, let it sit, let it cool down, and then we can go ahead and pull out the fill plug and let it drain to the proper height. On the transmission, the T-case, and the rear diff, we're gonna do that whole method. 1 MTL and 2 of the MT90. It all mixes up and gives you, hopefully, a nice shifting experience. 1 down, 2 down. Now I really, of course, need our intake manifold back. I did debate slapping on a stock intake manifold. Now the problem is intercooler piping. Our piping will not work with the stock intake manifold, as ETS offers 2 different styles of piping. One, of course, for the factory intake manifold, one for the Magnus. And we have the Magnus. So I'm hopefully by noon, our manifold's done. And I hate to be the guy to bug, I don't want to call the shop and be like, where's my manifold? I need it. Because ultimately it's my fault for waiting this long to drop it off. Okay, all 3 are in. Next up, let's work on completing our fueling. So we need to do the fuel pressure regulator still, run a few lines, and hardwire our fuel pump. I don't like hardwiring fuel pumps. It's not fun. Anything with wiring is not fun for me. So I'm gonna do that first and just get it out of the way. If you pull out the seat, pull off this panel here, and fold the carpet forward, you will be exposed with all of your fuel pump wiring right down there. This right here is the wire we are gonna be messing with. The white one right up top here. Plugs in right there. Coming over to our whiteboard, let's do a little diagram of how a hardwire kit is set up. And pretty sweet list we got here. I don't really use this thing much. I need to, but we got Barry on here, which is Bobby's Evo 10. A lot of work to do on that car. Anyways, this is the white wire that goes to the fuel pump. FP for fuel pump, W for white. It's a little box for the battery. Okay, so the hardwire kit has 4 wires going to a relay. Now, of course, that is not to scale. Very, very big relay. But we have pin 85, 87. Down here is going to be 30, 86 over there. So pin 86, black wire, that's going to go to the ground. You can go straight to the battery if you want, or just ground it on the chassis. 30 is going to run to the battery. Okay. Now we're left with 2 pins, 85 and 87. 85 is going to come down. We're going to cut that wire, that white wire that goes to the fuel pump, connect 85 to that side. Now 87 is going to run down and connect to that side. Very simple. The only part that is not simple is to do this nice and cleanly. OEM, everything's got to be nice and tucked up, hidden if possible. And you want to use a good hardwire kit with nice thick wires. Some of the cheap ones are pretty janky. I like to use the radium kits. I'll link one down below. Fuel pump wiring is complete. Let me give you a tour because I'm proud of it. Here's our wiring down here, relay mounted there. Power and ground run up into the trunk. Ground is grounded over there. power is gonna go to the battery. Now, look at this. This is what you'd call OEM spec. Very clean. If I had that manifold, I could literally fire this thing up right now, provided everything is connected properly. Actually, let's do the regulator. All right, I decided to mount our regulator right back here on the firewall. I mounted it to one of the studs on the firewall. I was gonna drill into the firewall, put like some riv nuts in there, but I'm not gonna do that. That's a little too scary for me. So now we can build the return line. It's gonna go from the bottom of the regulator here over to the hard line there. And we're gonna need another line from the rail to the regulator. Of course, we need the manifold for that. Regulator is mounted there. Don't worry, that's just a temporary regulator off the Evo 10 because the new one for this car has not arrived yet. So it's a bit faded, but line is made, back to the factory, return hard line down there. Now what else could we do to kill some time? I suppose we could do something like the couch can AN lines. Let's do that. That sounds exciting. Well, I decided to go ahead and just order some 10 AN adapter fittings for our valve cover. So we can't do the couch can stuff yet. That's not really important for a first start. What is important is a wideband gauge. So this here is a Rexpeed carbon fiber A-pillar cover. And on this pillar is going to be oil pressure in wideband. I'm gonna put 4 pretty freaking small screws on it. This here Rexpeed pod fits very, very, very nicely. But it does look like it's gonna need to be opened up a little bit to fit a 60 mil gauge, which is not a big deal. That's gonna be nice. Oil pressure, I'll probably do wideband oil pressure. Boost is in the cluster, as you guys know. Wideband gauge is installed. Hole is lopped in the backside for all the wiring. Now we can go ahead and get this installed. Get that wiring passed down through the dash and get it connected to a power and a ground. It's 3 p.m., still no call from the machine shop on the manifold, so I'm kind of starting to lose hope that we're gonna get this first start done today. Okay, let's go ahead and get our AEM wideband sensor installed. That's gonna sit right here. Now the easiest way to tap in for power is one of these guys here, a little out of fuse. You can see it up there. So that side goes to the boost gauge, this side runs to the wideband and the oil pressure. And with everything connected, there's how it looks. Still no word from the machine shop. I'm done waiting, I'm just gonna start doing random things. So I have here some bash bars or bumper beams, I guess you could call them as well, from STM. Now, when you run a big old front mount like we have here, the factory front bumper beam does not fit. And I wanted something up here. I could have built one, but if STM makes one, we may as well use the STM one. So let's get this guy on. Bolts right in the factory location. And the rear as well. With the JDM bumper that we're running, you cannot run the factory rear. So STM makes one for the rear, and the cool thing about it is the rear includes these tabs right here. These are mounts for the license plate. If you've done a JDM rear bumper before, you know, you kind of gotta just build your own. So that's super nice. And of course, being splatter black, they look very, very nice against the yellow car. Speaking of bars, we may as well just get all the bars on the car. Let me show you. We have what is called a power brace. These things look absolutely amazing on Evo 8 or 9, 8 especially if you do the nose chop like we did, of course. Please fit. We're gonna have to modify this. It appears. If we wanna run it with this front bash bar, which of course I do, we will have to modify. It does fit around the intercooler just fine though, I've already confirmed that. So we're gonna be powder coating that and our OEM strut tower bar, this guy here. Let's get the Cusco power brakes modified. Both of these are already sandblasted and ready to go. We are gonna lose a little bit of the structural rigidity of this thing, but that's not a big deal. If I just cut on that line right there, come straight up, it should be plenty. It's a close fit, but it clears everywhere. Everything's gonna line up like it should, it appears. But man, like I said, it's a close fit. It's dang near resting on the bash bar. I think it'll go. It will. It'll fit. The way I see it, we have two options for the bars. The strut tower bar and that front power brace. Those options are splatter black to match the bumper beams that we just installed, or forged charcoal to match the calipers and the valve cover. And the color of choice is, dun dun dun, the best. So here's how that color looks, which is of course forged charcoal before it's baked. Well friends, if you are here for a first start of the Evo 8, you might want to just, dip on out of the video because it ain't happening today. I just spoke with the machine shop. They are going to get it done in the morning. So in the meantime, while we wait on the bars in the oven to be baked, I'm going to do something that you guys suggested. I saw a comment, or maybe a few comments, saying to convert our entire gauge cluster to LEDs. So that is exactly what I'm going to be doing while we wait. Now I kind of cheaped out. Now let me explain that. I got this kit from JDC. They offer the DIY kit, which is what I got, and they offer a plug and play kit, which is what I should have got. I'll show you why here in a sec, because this could have been a 5-minute ordeal. Instead, it's probably gonna be an hour ordeal because we actually have to take our factory bulb, socket, take the bulb out, take the LED bulb, modify it a little bit, and then insert it. Not a big deal because we got some time, but we could be doing other things. So, check this out. To get a factory bulb out, you take it, you twist it, you pull it out. That's how it looks. That factory little glass bulb right there, we need to remove. In order to remove that, there's some wires on the back side, and you need to put those straight up like that. Now we can go ahead, take the bulb, and with the wires straight like so, pull the bulb out. Now here's an LED bulb. The first thing we need to do is go ahead and remove the heat shrink. Kind of just peels off like that. Okay. Take those two wires, bend them up. Take the LED bulb itself, remove it from that socket, and now we're going to be installing this LED into that socket. Okay. Then you take your wire and you try to replicate how it was from the factory. This section right here on the wire is what touches that silver section on our circuit board, telling the bulb to light up. Now, of course, this isn't the biggest deal in the world, but it's definitely time consuming because you got to times it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 18 bulbs. I would recommend the plug and play kit. The LEDs are going to be insane. They're going to look really, really good inside this cluster. But man, oh man, I'll be here for a while. So good night. Okay, we have our stack of bulbs all finished up. Now here's the thing. Being LED, they have to go in. There's a certain, I guess you'd say, polarity of how they go. So they can only go in one way. Meaning if you put it in backwards, it ain't gonna work. So what I'm doing is I have the key on, and each of the things, like the blinker, I'll turn the blinker on to make sure that bulb is lighting up. Like that one right there. Initially I put it in backwards. Now she's good. Alrighty, it's at least 2 hours later. I finally got this LED conversion finished up. I'm gonna kill the lights in the shop and show you guys. There it is. Okay. Well, here it is. And I'm now recognizing that our boost gauge does not light up. I wonder if there's an easy way to make that light up. Because I feel like it should. I just don't have it powered. But check out the rest of the gauge cluster. There it is, lights off, lights on, high beams, blink, blink. Everything works like it should. And look how freaking bright it is. That's one of the coolest mods I've done thus far. Let me try to figure out that boost gauge. I want that thing to light up. Now that right there, that is what I'm talking about. Boost gauge is white. I actually prefer it white. You can wire it to be red or white, but being that it's like an aftermarket part, I thought it was cool being white. And I wanted it lit up all the time. Beautiful. I love it. Our bars are finished up, nice and cooled down. Here's the color, matches the brakes. Let's do the cooler one first, and hopefully it fits. So this guy is gonna bolt on with those two bolts there and those two bolts there. The power brace is on, it's complete, it's a tight fit, but there is a tiny gap between the bars, which of course is what I was after. I didn't want any sort of rattling going on. But here's how it looks with the power brace installed. I know it's kind of hard to get a rough idea of what it's gonna look like until the bumper's on, but trust me guys, it's gonna be sick. Now let's get this bay looking right with our strut tower bar. Get our stick Harbor Freight gauge out of the way. Hopefully our struts will stay, or the coilovers will stay in place. Oh boy, that is what I'm talking about. Also, I'm getting real lucky right now. I messed up, but it is covered. There's 3 little dots on our engine bay. Check this out. Brake fluid, pulled off paint right there. And if our strut tower didn't cover it, that would piss me off, but it does. So I just gotta be more careful with brake fluid. Let's top off the strut tower bar with some nice titanium hardware. I'm also very glad that a strut tower bar goes on this car. You can crank nuts down as hard as you want on powder coat. On paint, it's a little hairy. A lot of times it will chip. Powder coat, will never chip. Finally decided to pull off the cardboard on the intercooler. Check out that freaking front end, boys. That looks so good. So aggressive. All of the parts and components I installed today, I'll link down below. And that powder coat color, best accent color in the world for lightning yellow, in my opinion. I'll go ahead and link that down below as well. Sucks we didn't get a first start, but if we can get that manifold back in the morning, first start is right away. There's nothing else this car needs other than the manifold, of course the throttle body injectors, and a cold start for the boys. See you then.